and welcome to Live at 5, and today we're going to talk all about social media.
Oh, now there's a subject that we all love and loathe. But whether you like it or hate it, social media is a massive part, not only our lives, our personal lives, but fundamental to many of our businesses' lives. And today we are super happy to say that we haven't just got one guest helping us to talk about the subject, but we've got two. It is, of course, Catherine and Lyndon from Sudol Media. Hello guys, how are you? How are you?
Very well.
You okay?
We're good.
Yeah, good stuff. Listen, thank you for coming. This feels a bit weird for us because usually we're sat where you are.
That's okay.
So I almost feel like you guys should be interviewing us.
We can do that. We can swap over.
We're going to swap over later, yeah.
So let's talk all things social media.
I think we're going to start with the social media and what a great kind of tool it can be for, for businesses when they start out. I know that both of you have got journalists sort of careers, and you've been in that space for a very long time, and you know the ins and outs of that. But if we stick to the social media aspect today, what are the things that you would say you would kind of look at do you need to be on all the channels? Do you need to, what's the sort of things to look out for in your eyes?
Obviously, social media is a vital part of everything these days, and I think to be a business person at all and not have social media is just a big no-no. You have to be involved. Whether you have to be involved in every single thing that's going on out there, completely different world. I think depending on what you're doing will depend on which of the platforms you end up using. At the moment, I think Facebook seems to work for most genres, and everybody seems to be on Facebook. Brilliant. Whether Instagram is going to work for your business depends on exactly what you're doing. And if you've got something that's quite visual and full of photographs and your business is selling products, fantastic. But probably if you work for a utility warehouse and you're just trying to make people's bills a bit cheaper, Instagram probably isn't going to work for you in the same way because you've got nothing visual really to show apart from posters, and that becomes a bit boring after a little while.
And I think as well, it has to be something that's kind of relevant for you as well. And I'm going to come over to you, Catherine, because you're quite a shy individual, right? So this is why I'm going to pick on you for this one. TikTok would not work for you.
No.
Yeah, Twitter is perfect, right?
Yes.
And as a reporter, pretty much if it doesn't happen, when it comes to news and PR, if it's not happening on Twitter, it's not happening at all, right? So there has to be that element. You have to find what works for you, and I think that's where I'm going with this.
You can find, on Twitter, it's happening before it even happens on the news, doesn't it?
Yes.
So there's so many little hints and bits and pieces that you can take from the various different channels. So I want to go into a bit of an example, because I know that as a team you work together so beautifully, because there's so many different elements to the business that you run with Sudol Media. We want to talk a little bit about how you look into the actual place that you're working with, how you get to know people, how do you work with your clients when you kind of got the client there and work with them before you come into the content and what channels and everything like that. For you to getting to know the person.
You've got to get to know the person and what their goal is, what they're trying to achieve, how the business works. You meet the team, they've got a team. I do as much research as I can on through the different channels, and it's really trying to understand what they want to get across.
And I think also understanding their personalities as well, because I think sometimes it's difficult to almost write unless you're inside their heads and thinking in the same sort of way that they think. So I think that is another major problem, is sort of getting into people's heads and understanding what they think about their business and how they want to portray their business, which I think is probably harder than writing content.
Because I can imagine, you're pretty good with all of the kind of content stuff. You're really good at getting into the story. You certainly were with me anyway, because you're very good at. Actually, you've got a skill that not many people have got. You've got the skill of listening, and I think that's fundamental, right? Especially in this time of industry.
Yes. Yeah, that's always been really, really important. But throughout my whole my career, it's listening to what they're saying and building a sort of a relationship with the time that you've got. getting people to open up and tell you things that sometimes they've never told people before. So it's a real privilege to.
And then it's getting the story out of the people that
Yeah.
don't want to get the story out, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Do you know what I
interesting
mean?
because we've both seen this because you've done, articles that we've read, and I've actually seen you in where we've been at places where you've been interviewing people, and you can tell when what they're talking about is kind of irrelevant to the story, but then you pick up the other things that you can grab more out of people, and
You're talking about interviewing me, right?
No, it's amazing because you're very much about sharing your content.
Yeah,
and other
and I'm
people, you have
easy
to
about it.
drag it out to them.
I
obviously.
think sometimes people don't know what their story. They've got a story. They don't know they've got it, and it's finding. You can find that interesting angle or the news angle that the reader wants, and it's just when you. That's what I'm doing so long. I know I can pick up on what makes a good story.
Do you know what I also think? And I'm going to come back to what makes your USP, right, about this? Because social media is this like new thing. It's a new, I mean, it's not new, it's been around for years, but if you really go back into your careers, you were actually part of the first ever form of media, which is newspapers, right? And there's not a great deal of difference between newspapers and social media. The only real difference is the speed in which it projects and the speed in which it becomes tomorrow's chip paper. That is really the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I think back in our day, news obviously took a little bit longer to get out there, whereas today it's out there straight away, and as soon as somebody's done something or seen something, most people seem to know about it really relatively quickly now, as opposed to us sort of rushing to get news out tomorrow, today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So what would you say, right? Okay, so we've only got a couple more minutes left, but when you're looking at social media and people are looking into their social media, right? What is there a pattern that they need to be thinking about? Is it like, so I try on my social media, for example, I'll go, right, I need to have one with text, one with a picture, and one with video. And I try to kind of shake it up a little bit. Am I on the right framework? When people are thinking like this, are they in the right ballpark?
Yeah, I don't think everyone thinks as sort of forward as you do, I think. And I think there's a lot of people tend to stick to one thing and one thing they like doing. I mean, obviously making videos isn't everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone feels comfortable doing it. Most people feel that they can do lots of little texts. I think luckily due to technology now, most people can pick up a phone and take a half decent photograph, where even 3 or 4 years ago, they may have just taken some dodgy old picture on their old iPhone 1 or whatever they had at the particular time. But I think luckily technology has helped us all to be able to do the things. And yeah, you've got to do a mixture of everything just to sort of get yourself going and to work with the algorithms that's going on these days.
I think the main thing that we picked up from what both of you have been saying, and with your backgrounds as well, is the fact that you've got to stay true to yourself. There's no point in trying to be somebody else. And if you have somebody else like you guys doing social media, that's the importance for you to get to know the customer, isn't it?
I think the one bit of advice I sort of give to everybody is to just not listen to everyone else. Because I think everyone you speak to now is a social media expert, and everyone will tell you something completely different. And I think if you're not careful, you'll end up going off in all sorts of tangents.
Oh, it's a black hole.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's funny because I feel that, like, literally, right? If I speak to 5 different people about LinkedIn, I will have 5 different strategies given to me. So I've decided to listen to none of them and do my own thing. And do you know what? It's working-ish, right? But like, I've figured out a way of getting my own audience and speaking to them, and I'm doing all right. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not a hard and fast rule, is it?
No, I think it's like anything in life. There's always some so-called expert who will sell you information or tell you things that to make money at the end of the day, and it might not necessarily be exactly what you need or what you want to help with your business.
And I'm going to say this as well to end the show. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you've got rubbish content, it doesn't matter. Unless your content is true to you, people want to read it, it's authentic, you're wasting your time. So if you do want to know more about social media, and you do want someone that will be able to explain it to you in a format that is simple, then the people you need to speak to is Sudol Media, and they come with my recommendations. So, guys, if someone wants to find you and track you down, how can they do so?
It's on probably our website, www.sudol.co.uk. Yeah, you remembered it. And we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at the moment as well, and individually on LinkedIn.
Fantastic, that's brilliant. So the last I've got left to do now is to thank my amazing, beautiful co-host Charlotte, and of course our wonderful 2 guests, Catherine and Lyndon. Thank you very much. Take care.
Welcome to Live at 5, the chat show.
I genuinely, right, I do get excited about Live at 5 because we just get like a group of people on the show, and do you know what? It goes either way. Like, it genuinely can go either way. We can either have a half-an-hour show or we can have a 3-hour show. Like, it's really does how we go. Today, I got a funny feeling it might be a long one.
And we're so privileged because we've got so many members that we can sort of go, hey, you really fit this, let's go. And everybody said yes, so we got a fantastic lineup today.
And with it being January, right, everyone sets themselves challenges. I've set myself challenges. I know Charlotte set hers. You set your goals, you realign, and everything happens in January. Now, some people actually hold those goals longer than January the 3rd. We're now on January the 25th. I'm still going strong, so I know I've got mine underway. But what does that actually mean? And how do you approach your challenges? How do you deal with them? And do they last longer than the first 3 days? So let's bring out the guests and find out.
Yes.
You ready?
Yes, let's go.
Let's do it. Okay, so I'm really genuine when I say this today, actually, because every single one of the guests I do consider a good friend of mine. So it's really lovely that actually we've got these people in one place, all from different walks of life. So I'm really genuinely very excited. So I'm gonna go ladies first. Actually, I'm gonna go ladies first. Now the 2 ladies in the room go, oh, which ones of us is going to be first? This lady is an absolute sweetheart. If ever you meet her, you would be instantly calmed down, instantly collected. She has a voice that can literally get every problem to go away, and I can't say anything more than that. She's a hypnotherapist, an NLP practitioner, an NLP master practitioner, a master in hypnotherapy is the best way to say it. It is, of course, Eleanor Gladwin, and I am so delighted to bring her out. Eleanor, welcome to the show, my love.
Hi.
I was fumbling with my words because there's so much I could say about you. It's just, what do I put in and what do I leave out? It really is that difficult.
Such a smooth talker, Jamie, aren't you, eh?
It's got me this far, Eleanor. It's got me this far.
I think he's pretty on top of it today, because I've been sat in your chair at the calm space and you make me feel instantly calm. But we talk more about that.
She does.
Yeah.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Okay, so let's bring out our next guest. Now, this young lady, she's been on the show a few times before. Everyone knows I absolutely adore her. I consider her as one of my little proteges, although I'm sure she may or may not agree. But she came up to me one day and said, Jamie, I've got an idea. I want to set up my own business. And my only answer is, why haven't you? And now, like, over a year down the line, not only does she run her own 2 years. Thank you for correcting me. So 2 years down the line, not only, God, time flies. Not only does she run her own very successful dance studio, she is also now the proud owner of her own clothing brand, which I cannot wait for you guys to hear more about. So, and it is, of course, the lovely Georgina James from Geej Coaching. Georgina!
Really?
Okay, how are you? You all right?
Yes, good, thank you. I always love to build it. They do really wonders for my ego.
This is what we're all about, love. This is what we're all about.
Yeah.
Just feel good.
That's it. That's what we try and aim for. All right. Okay. So the next guest coming out, we have got 4 for you today. So you lucky sausages. So the next guest coming out has come all the way from Romania. He is an absolute gem. He's a gentleman of a man. We joined his challenge in the later part of last year, towards the build-up of our wedding, because we decided that actually we got fat. There's no polite way of saying it, and we needed to seriously look at how our relationship with food. So we started the Wild Fit Challenge, and we were introduced to the lovely Ewan Kind of Kind Evolution.
Hi,
Ewan.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
I just want to point out you're not in Romania now, right? You are
No,
in
no. I am in Cardiff, where I live currently. So I'm coming to you from Cardiff.
all the way from Cardiff, mate, on the live stream. It's lovely having you, buddy. It is lovely having you. So I've left the final guest to last, but not by any means for any other reason. He is one of my dearest friends. And I met this man. I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro. I met this man at a time when I was at probably part of my lowest in my life. And I sat in his office for about 3 hours and told him all about what was going on, how I felt, why I felt it, etc. And he said to me, you know what you want to do, don't you? You want to do an NLP course. And I realized that actually by doing the course, I would be able to go through the NLP breakthrough program. I'd be qualified and I'd save £1,000. So I thought, what a fantastic idea. And that's exactly what I did. It is, of course, the lovely Jeff Kidner. Jeff, come on out, mate. Come on out from Elite. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right. Hello. Thanks for having me. Always a privilege. Nice to be here.
I remember that day really well because Jamie came home and he said, I'm going to do an NLP course.
And she went, what's NLP?
Yeah. And here we are. And today we've got 4 NLP practitioners on the show. So it's all about new challenges today. So really privileged to have you all here. So thank you for joining us.
So look, because it's coming over, and you do come from very different kind of business approaches with coaching. What I want you to do, I just want to do a very quick whistle stop. Because I know you guys will be able to do it better than I can. So I just want you to tell us quickly what you do. And I'm going to go in reverse order this time. So I'm going to go, Jeff, quickly, mate, tell us what you do over at Elite Breakthrough Solutions.
So I'm a mindset coach and I work with professionals who are externally successful. So they've got everything that they think they needed to be happy, but they're not. And then I strategically redesign their thinking so that they become more confident, their personal power grows, they find then the drive and motivation to create the fabulous future that they really crave. So that's a summary of what I do. So basically, mindset coach.
Great summary.
It is. No, and it's very true as well. And actually, trying to explain what you do, put it in words, is quite difficult. Let's go over to Ewan. Ewan, quickly, mate, what do you do, buddy?
Well, to get it shortly, I help people redefine their relationship with food. As simple as that.
That is absolutely spot on.
I focus, of course, mindset is the biggest part here, and through the course I'm coaching, we focus on the relationship one has with food, why we eat what we eat, and how we can shift that so our body experiences the optimal health.
Fantastic. And literally, we've done it, right? Me and Charlotte have done it. We've gone backwards a little bit, and now we're back on, and we're redefining that relationship again. So it is, and it does make. We'll talk about it more in a minute. Right. Let's go over to the lovely Jeej. Go ahead, Jeej.
Okay, so I do it predominantly through dancing, and most of my clients are women, but I have a few men joining the classes now, which is awesome. But I help people reconnect with themselves through dance and also push their life forward and help them achieve the goals. Again, I feel like I'm a little parrot changing their mindset.
Well, that's why we're all here. That is why we're all here. And the beautiful Eleanor. Come on then, Eleanor. Why don't you tell everybody what you do, lovely?
So predominantly I use hypnotherapy to help people to make transformations in their lives that they just find hard to achieve by themselves. I also use NLP and various other techniques as well. But so basically I help people to change their mindset.
Genuinely, right? Hypnotherapy does work, right? Hypnotherapy is one of those little subjects, hypnotherapy, NLP. It's one of these little diets. They're all subjects that people FUBAR. They talk about it, they're like, but these things genuinely work, right? And that's why we wanted to put this show together, because it is a challenge. They are challenging, but if you if you can invest that time and into it, they genuinely do work. So I just want to get that message out there as we start. Now, we've got a first question for you all, right? And the first question is, what advice would you give someone who was facing a new challenge? Now, I know that this is very much in all of your remits, because actually when people come to see you, it is because of either a health reason, a professional reason, a personal reason, but whatever it is, they're at the bottom of a hill looking up at that challenge. So I'm going to come around to you guys now, but I just want you to give us a little insight on what would be your top tips for anyone standing at the bottom of the hill, looking up at that hill, facing their challenge. So let's go over to Jeff first. So Jeff, what would be your top tips for people facing challenges and advice?
The first thing I would say is why, I guess, is it an external challenge? Is this something that's been put on you, or is this something you're deciding to do? Because I think there's a bit of a difference. So, but at the end of the day, it's why are you doing that challenge? What do you want on the other side of it? What is it going to get for you? Because I think if you're not clear on that and you don't really know what it's going to get you in terms of how you feel, and when I say feel, I mean how you feel in your head, your heart, and your gut, the whole being of you, is what, first of all, why do you want it? And be crystal clear on that is the first thing
I think that's really important, because
Really,
otherwise
yeah.
you're not going to follow it through. I don't think if you're not clear of what you want out of it, it's very easy to give up.
The other thing as well, Jeff, which is something that I know from speaking to you, is you have to want it, right? You have to want that. You have to want that end result, which is why it's so important. The why is so important, because if you don't want it, you're never going to do it. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. I had a client this week, and she was going for promotion, and the company are paying for her to have the training. And when you ask her, like, why do you want the promotion? There wasn't an answer. So she's caught up in the organizational politics of it all. And really, she didn't want it. When we got talking, I'm like, that's why. That's why you won't go for it, because you don't really want it. So you have to want it, and the wanting it comes from the why. They drive each other. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm going to come over to Eleanor actually next, because Eleanor, this is a space that you are in, right? And people come up to you to all sorts of challenges. So, for example, they want to lose weight, or they want to give up smoking, or they want to be able to do public speaking, or lots of different. And sometimes it's you'll take a very different approach to how they face that challenge, won't you?
Yeah, so I think just right. One of the first things is, is it for them? Is it something that they want? So particularly with smoking, for example, if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, I want to give up smoking because my wife can't stand me smoking any longer." Well, is it something that you want to do? Because if it's not something that you want to do, then best in the world, whatever I say or do is not going to make any difference. So it has to be something that that person really wants to change and to have. Otherwise, we're all wasting our time, really. So yeah, I think that's one of the main things is that there has to be that engagement, and that I always say I don't have any fairy dust and I don't have a magic wand. So unless the person is really engaged in the process and wants to make that change, then there's no point really, because hypnotherapy in particular is not magic. There has to be buy-in from the client as well. So yeah, that's really important. And yeah, to find somebody really that you have a rapport with, that that you feel that you can trust, and that can go on that journey with you, because I think that's really important. So if there's not that connection, then again you're not going to really kind of be engaged to make those changes.
I think that's really important to bring out in this conversation, because if you kind of think that you're going to go to any therapy or any challenge, and you don't really want it, you don't really know why you're doing it, you're going to give up straight away, and you need to have that willpower and that challenge, and you're going to have to understand that you need to do the work as well, because we could all go to Ewan and say I want to lose weight, but he's not going to have a magic wand and just do that.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned the word willpower, because I literally seen Ewan die inside when you said the word willpower. So let's go over to Ewan.
That's kind of why I mentioned it.
So go on, Ewan. What's your advice there, mate?
So that's I don't even know where to start. It's first thing, when you set a goal, in my opinion, a goal is not important to be set to achieve it, but to become aware of who you need to become to achieve that goal. So as Jeff said, find your why. Find why do you want to do that, and be authentic. So I want to quit smoking because someone else is want to, but if I feel inside I don't want to, we tackle into willpower, and willpower is limited by design, by definition. So I always give that example. If I hang up on a cliff, it doesn't matter how much willpower I have. If you come in 2 weeks, I won't be there. So um, something like that with goals,
I love that.
right?
I
So
think Jeff and Eleanor might steal that one. You went.
Yeah.
I want to give my smoking right. I'm going to hang you on a cliff for 2 weeks, and if you're still there when I come back, we'll work on it.
Well, if you're still there in 2 weeks, you don't need me or Jeff.
Yeah.
so
You'll be absolutely fine.
Oh God,
yeah,
that's hilarious. But it's true though, isn't it, guys? Right? It is genuinely true. Like willpower will not keep you on the cliff alone, is it? You've got to have the desire. You've got to have that burning desire.
what willpower does, it gets you started. You need to have willpower to start on the journey, to move from where one is, and that's why it's essential, as Jeff says, to start to find a reason to activate that willpower and get inspired rather than motivated, and to be authentic, as Eleanor said, because you have to be um, attuned with yourself, so you feel that what you're doing is according to your values. If you do something, the discussion is quite long, but if you start finding those two aspects, and then you start on, you'll have the willpower to start on, and then along the way willpower will finish at some point, and that's the trick of the journey, to make it count until the willpower will try to get you back to ground zero, to be so far away and to see the benefits of what you've done and what you've achieved so far, that there's actually no going back.
It's using the analogy of the mountain. The willpower is getting in the car and driving to the car park. But once you get started on that mountain climb and you're taking in all the benefits, the fantastic views and
Exactly.
the lovely scenery, all of a sudden you're not walking anymore. You're genuinely just enjoying the environment that you're in, and you've made that decision. And then when you get to the summit of the top, you want to do the next summit. You want to go to the next goal, and that's when you really know that and I'm talking from experience, that's when you know that you've really changed your mindset. I'm going to come over to the lovely G, just sitting there patiently. I'm not expecting you to be hanging on a cliff anywhere soon, G, but although saying that anything's possible, what would be your advice if someone was coming to you and said, like, this is where I am, this is what I want to achieve? What would be your advice?
So very often the main case that I get is that people haven't done fitness for a long, long time. So they feel quite daunted and overwhelmed about rejoining or approaching that challenge. And very often they'll compare themselves to how fit they used to be and things like that. So what I say is, whatever their goal is in their mind, kind of set it there, have it at the end, but don't focus on that. Focus on the little milestones that you can do, and also probably visualizing is probably a big thing, like visualizing yourself when you've come in and it's a dark night and you could just easily lie there. Visualize yourself getting up and going to the dance class, or making that food, or like prepping even when you don't want to, because when you start visualizing that, your brain will go, well, I could do this, but actually I've been thinking about doing something else, and then you've got that little trigger that will make you go, no, I know what I need to do. So I think it's all about the journey as opposed to the main goal. Because sometimes I've achieved goals that haven't been that hard to achieve, and I'm like, oh. Whereas if I've had a harder goal that's taken me a longer time to get there, I'm enjoying the journey way more, and that's what makes the goal a bit more, I suppose, enjoyable. So yeah, that'd be my
And
advice.
rewarding as well. Which
Yeah.
you brought out a really good point there. You said about, like, you've achieved goals, and sometimes you've achieved goals and you've been like, oh, okay, well, I've done it, but it's nothing, so what? Like, and I'm talking from a point when actually I've got massive goals, right? And one of those goals you'll know is Everest, which in a couple of months' time, hopefully we'll be doing. But talk about chunking it down. There was a point when actually twiddling my toes was a massive achievement for me. So, and on that note, like, I'm really keen to find out, because I know you guys have all done journeys of your own benefits, and I want to see what your own personal accomplishments are that you're super, super proud of. So I'm going to come over to Eleanor first, because I'm really intrigued with this. So, Eleanor, what would you say would be your personal accomplishment that you are most proud of?
Oh, this is a tricky one, isn't it? Like, and I've lived a long time, so oh, I feel like I have some days. So my first kind of reaction was, setting up and running my own business, but I'm not sure if that really fits I've just tipped my tea over. The discussion that we've been having. So I don't really know what to choose. I'll stick with that because that was what
Yeah, I was
in my
about to
head.
say, because setting up a business is a pretty big goal. I mean,
Yeah.
people go, oh yeah, so and so, and she's got a little business going, or she earns a bit of pocket money. But it's not the case. That, I mean, it's massive setting up your own company, and it is the most scariest thing you do. I think I'd rather climb Everest, right? Like, I've set my own business up, and I'm telling you, it's every day is a challenge. At least with Everest, it's going to take me a month or so, and it's done. Do you know what I mean? But setting your own business, it's not like that. So yeah, stick with that.
I think you should bring it.
And I do.
And also, you've just moved offices, and you've got your new calm space, which is beautiful. And I think that's something to be really, really proud of.
Yeah. So it was kind of like my hand was on force, but I was made redundant. So I'd already kind of started my journey of training to be a hypnotherapist at that time, a clinical hypnotherapist. And it all kind of just fitted, So it was kind of the opportunity to do that training came up whilst I kind of had an inkling that things would probably go the way that they did at work. And so it all kind of just lined up and, all flowed really nicely. But then, when the rubber hits the road and actually my job had finished and now I'm, I've got to bite the bullet and get on with it. That was kind of a bit of a different scenario. And I've always worked in, as part of a team and in a very large sort of like call center type environment. So lots of people around me. So to go from that, so to be in a room with up to 100 people and then suddenly to be in a room on my own was actually very different. And that comes with lots of challenges. And also running your own business, you have to wear all the hats, don't you? So you have to be the bookkeeper and the, and the marketeer and the advertiser and the salesperson and the person who does the actual
tea maker and the photocopier.
Yeah, and some of the stuff is really not very comfortable. It's not in your skill set, is it? So you have to learn a lot of stuff quite quickly, really, to survive. So yeah, and then obviously we've been through the last 2 years. So just as my business was really starting to gain some momentum, we had the lovely COVID come along, so that sort of like knocked it back a little bit. But I'm still here and I'm still plowing on, So actually, yeah, it's a bigger achievement than sometimes I perhaps give myself credit for. So
yeah, I think a lot of people, I speak to people every day that go, don't recognize the big and small wins, and I'm one of them sometimes. I kind of go, you don't sort of recognize what you have done in such a short time and how we are so good at adapting as well and diversifying when we need to. And I know that every single person that's here on this show today and people listening have done just that. And I think that's important to talk about.
She's really good at showing other people what they're doing great, Mike. She's just not so good at doing it herself, right?
You're all the same, I think.
Your small wins, Dave. What have you achieved today?
Yeah, but Danielle and I have this thing. So anyway, I'm going to come over to Jeff, who's been sitting there waiting as well. So what's your sort of accomplishment that you are really proud of?
Oh my God, it's really hard to just pick one in it. So I've got a couple, I think. But I think in the context of the discussion, for me, I was late into education. So I didn't start education till I was about 24, something like that. And I was working. So all the qualifications I've done have been while I was working part-time. And I did a chemistry degree and then a business degree and then Prince 2 and lots of other things and a master's in leadership and management. And that's not to brag. That's just, I love learning. But I had a bit of I didn't discover till NLP. I had a limiting belief that I wasn't good enough. So my brain was saying more and more qualifications, and then you'll be good enough. But it's the reverse, because anyone who's done any education, the more you learn, the more you realise you don't know. So it's a bit of reverse cycle. So yeah, that was a big one, getting into education and getting all of that done. And I think the business is massive, and I agree with you. We just plod on because it's the next goal and the next goal. But I think I was in the corporate. I didn't leave till I was, how old was I when I left? 49 when I left the corporate world. So it's quite late in life, isn't it? So it was a massive step for me after that. And last year, because in my head, success was earning what I earned in the corporate world. And that's what I did last year. And it's like we had a massive celebration because I've got a tiny team now. So it's like that's huge. So in my head, the business was successful because that was what I set as a criteria. But everyone else was saying, well, it's already been successful. Look at all the people you've helped and look at it that way. And but there's always something new in there in business. You've got that now. What's the next thing? What do we need next? What do we need next? You're always on the go. But my number one is obviously my daughter. So she's 30 now. And it's so easy to, well, it was for us. We were really lucky because it was, well, don't have to, you know what happens to have a baby, but it was like,
it's not difficult, Jeff. You know, 1 and 2
return on investment. The biggest return on investment ever, and it's like she's been my life. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. And then when they tell you on Christmas Day that you're going to be a grandfather in the summer, it's even better. And I'm like,
I know, right? It's the investment that just keeps giving, Jeff.
And I know
it is.
very much agree with this. Sarah's your absolute little darling, isn't she, Ewan? And she's always coming on the calls. So Ewan will very much relate to this as well. But what's your biggest accomplishment apart from your daughter, Ewan? You have to have one other as well, at least.
You had to say that because the whole time I was listening, I was thinking I'm gonna give the one with Sarah because it's definitely my biggest achievement. And it's not to make me proud because as I see the word pride invites conquering, so it's still a challenging environment. I'm rather humbled by the opportunity of being a father, and it's really a day-to-day journey and job, and it's pushing my limits on a continuous basis. But I cannot say this anymore because you said a part of it. Probably getting to the awareness level where I can come from a place of contribution and deciding to serve rather than looking at the world as an opportunity for myself. I now hope I am able to look at the world as how can I help? How can I contribute? How can I coach someone? It's for this lack of a better word. How can I hold up a mirror so other people see how wonderful they are? And that's an achievement because it was a long journey and it wasn't easy and it's still ongoing. And it's like going up the mountain as we are talking about climbing hills, and you go through a forest and suddenly you reach a top and then you can see around, and actually you realize that it's a beautiful way and a beautiful landscape, but you're still in a valley. So something like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's a bit like cat interest, that is, mate. You go up these million steps in this forest, and then when you come out, you realise that you haven't even got onto the mountain yet. It's the worst mountain in the world. I absolutely adore cat interest in equal proportion. Right, I'm going to go over to some of the comments that we've had because they've been absolutely lovely. So just bear with me. So we're going to bring out the lovely Robin Harris, who we all know. I think we all know Robin as well. She's absolutely wonderful, and if ever you want a voice that will calm you down, it's Robin's. So lovely. Love the point that you made, Eleanor, about needing to be the person's own goal, not someone else's goal for them. I also loved what you said at the network meeting about willpower. I don't know what you said at the network meeting, so do you want to fill us in on that one, Eleanor?
Yeah, I think I can remember. It's probably what I always say about willpower. So you guys will understand, and I'm sure some of the people listening will understand about the fact that we have to, part of our mind is conscious and part of it is unconscious. And what was really interesting to me, particularly when I was having hypnotherapy before I was trained, was to realize that sort of the split between what you do consciously and what you do unconsciously is not even. So only between sort of 5 and 10% of what we do every day is conscious. The rest of it all belongs to our unconscious mind. So all our bodily functions, for example, are all controlled by our unconscious mind. So when's the last time you had to think about breathing or your heart beating or your kidneys functioning? It just does it all by itself and all that kind of stuff. So, and guess where your willpower sits?
Sounds fair. I mean, it's back hanging on that cliff, right?
Yeah, and it belongs to your conscious mind. So, your willpower very much sits in that conscious part of your mind, which means that you only have 5 to 10% chance of accomplishing a goal or a challenge with your conscious, with your willpower. And that's why, as Ewan was saying earlier, it gets to a point, it starts you off and it makes you, kind of get off your bum and get going, but actually it runs out quite quickly, because you're constantly having to decide, shall I continue with this goal? Shall I make the right choice, or shall I just do what I've always done? So that's kind of probably what I was saying at the network meeting, is that a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, the trouble is I just don't have the willpower. And I say, well, good news, don't worry about it, don't beat yourself up anymore, because the good news is that's because it's a conscious decision, and we're going to look at your unconscious mind and we're going to do some reprogramming there, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's really good analogy. I like that. Thanks, Robbie, for bringing that up.
Let's go. So she also said great points, Gigi. I'm not 100% sure at what level, but Gigi, whatever you said was great.
And I want to hear what the accomplishment was, because we didn't do Gigi.
Did we not?
No, we missed that. We haven't. No, we didn't.
Oh,
shame on you.
I know, right? Gigi,
what personal accomplishment are you most proud of?
I've had a lot of time to think about this one, but I think for me it's the ability to always go back to my roots. So even when imposter syndrome strikes, or I question whether I should be doing something in a certain way, for example, letting someone have a free class because they're really struggling or things like that, and people will go, oh, don't do that because you're running a business and everything. It's understanding and listening to my gut. I've got much better of it as a result of not listening to it. So I think that's a big achievement for me, to always know that what I'm saying inside is what needs to be done because it's the right option for me and the decision I make. And it's took me a long while to get there, because when you're a people pleaser, it is quite hard to listen to the gut sometimes. So that's my achievement.
I'm glad we came back to that, actually, because that's absolutely brilliant. Like, one of the things we don't do, right, is we just don't listen to what ourself is saying to ourselves. We listen to everyone else sometimes, but actually we forget to listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'm going to carry on with the comments now, purely because I'm halfway through, and if I don't do it, I start having a malfunction. So Robin also came on and she said, yes, so much easier to recognize others' achievements than it is to see and celebrate your own. I think we can all agree with that, actually. And what else is on this? Loads of comments. Lovely comments. Commented to you, Iwan, how lovely what you were saying. Jeff, great news.
Granddad,
yeah, Granddad. I love that. You're right, Pops. Right, and such as it's a great point about being aware. Right, brilliant.
Now we got to go on to the last question.
We have, otherwise we're going to be here all night. Look, do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to do the last question.
I'll drink my tea.
Drink your tea. I'm going to come over to Ewan first and ask you, what are some of the challenges that you have helped others work through and achieve that you are proud of?
One of the biggest was having a client calling me on a Thursday evening. It was really late, and he said, I just finished my visit at my practitioner, and she stopped my diabetes medicine and my hypertension medicines. That was like made me really, really humbled of being able to get one person's healthy. And it's I didn't get that anywhere else. Like I'm in the corporate world, it's a nice feeling of achieving and seeing your products on a street or in computers or so or whatever, but receiving such an honest and brutal feedback like from someone else is for me was huge.
Mm.
Yeah, and
So
it is.
Oh, well done,
It's
mate.
a massive thing to be able to improve somebody's health
uh,
during the
and
program like that.
yeah, and also you guys, what you were telling me, that makes me really humble, as yeah, dropping weight is very famous metric, and so but there are others which are much more important for our health than the weight, you know.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, that there are a lot. I'm not going into details, but having feedback like this from my students is like humbling. It's really humbling, and that's what fuels my motivation to keep on going and try to grow and influence and touch as many lives as possible.
Oh,
I think
mate,
this is
that's
something that
heartfelt.
we
Yeah.
all share on the screen actually. So I'm going to come over to Jeff next, because you all have clients come in all the time that are facing big challenges, small challenges. So what's the one that you would like to bring up and share with us, Jeff?
I think I need two, because there's such a massive spread in it of what people come to me for. So what, on the one hand, right, I had a singer who came to me and she was amazing. She sang downstairs. We got a hallway with I'm in a hall, and there's a big massive entrance, and she sang in there, and it was, oh my god, amazing. But confidence, zero confidence, and no drive to do anything about it. By the time we'd finished, she was back in singer for the Manics, and she stood on the stage in Motor Point and did 3 solo songs to 3,000 people in the audience.
Wow.
So it's like that. And so her career's just gone crazy. Amazing. And then just today, one of my clients, she was stage 3, maybe, I think, of lung cancer, round 3, her third version of cancer. Um, and I do a lot of stuff with her mindset stuff. And she sent a text through today saying, nothing's moved, everything's stable. Thanks to you and the chemo, I'm getting better. And I think
Oh, wow.
I can get emotional.
Gosh, that's
So
just
that's
given
Do
me
you know what?
goosebumps.
no.
And actually, I
Sorry,
mean,
Mike.
I've gone through chemo, right? Treatment is literally 40, like 60% chemo, 40% mindset. Like if you get in the wrong mindset with it, you just go downhill. I was very fortunate. I was surrounded by some amazing people, so and that kept my mindset going. So you're absolutely right, Jeff. So well done, mate. I mean, you can get emotional if you like. We don't mind. We know you.
Oh, no,
You're
you know what I'm like.
yeah, you're emotional great here, mate.
That's amazing.
Eleanor, what about you, lovely? Because I'm pretty sure you've helped so many people.
Yeah, I think the one that sticks in my mind the most was a guy that came to see me that wanted to stop smoking, and he had 2 children. One was kind of in the late teens, and the other one was a toddler. And he'd been told by his consultant, gastroenterologist, that he needed to give up smoking, otherwise it was going to kill him. Basically, he had some really serious stomach issues, and he tried. People will say this quite a lot. Oh, I've tried everything. I've tried, patches and all the stuff that they try, but I just can't seem to stop. And what struck me about him was that even though he'd had this kind of almost a death sentence, if you like, given to him by his consultant, and he had a lot to live for, that still wasn't enough for him to be able to use his willpower to stop smoking. And we just did one session, and that was it. He hasn't smoked since. And fairly that was that was before COVID, I think. Was it during COVID? I can't remember. But he's quite recently done a review for me, and is still not smoking. And he presumably he's quite healthy now. Last time I spoke to him, some of his stomach issues had resolved and all that kind of stuff. So that's just one example really of how things can turn around. But it is that fact that we need a bit of reprogramming sometimes to kind of make that change stick. So
That's incredible, though. In
amazing.
one session, and he
Yeah.
tried, patches, tried everything, and by reprogramming the mindset, it
Yeah.
stops working. It's just incredible.
Mind you, it was the same for me. I had hypnotherapy. I was drinking 3 cans of Monster Energy drink every day. Had a hypnotherapy session, and I've only, like, in the last 2 years, 3 years, I've had 3 cans. You know, so it does work. It definitely does work.
I had it with chocolate, and I haven't had
Yeah, you
chocolate.
got
back
chocolate.
for-
You got chocolate.
I think I'm on a 4.5 year streak now.
Fantastic.
Well, what's your
your-
greatest
yeah.
achievement though? What have you helped other people achieve? What have you most proud of?
So it's kind of a blanket thing. It's just helping people reconnect with their roots, because it's so easy to lose yourself in this world at the moment, especially more so social media. So it's like helping mums remember that they're still themselves. They're not just like mum. And then they can connect with themselves, and providing that space that allows them to like, I suppose, find out who they are now, or reconnect with the part of them that they thought they'd lost. And it's not just mums either, it's just women in general. I think we go through so much as beings, and throughout the whole of our life, so many different stages, that you forget that you sometimes have to evolve, and you're not going to be the same person sometimes, and you may lose your way a little bit. And it's just, it's crazy that it can happen through dance. But just helping people overcome that challenge to just feel like themselves, whoever that is.
And feel sexy again as well.
Yeah, but that
yeah,
is where your
that's a big one.
coaching comes in, because you're always talking about, us being beautiful and what we can do, and that all comes through the dance then naturally.
I think me,
I think
Jeff, and Ewan should come along, because let's be fair, like, do you know
Would
what I
you?
mean? Like, let's get some men in the show, right? And
Your
let's
boots be shaking.
But guys, listen, it has been great having you on here, and we do have to end the show at some point. However, before we end the show, we always come over to Charlotte, and she asks a final random question. Now, sometimes it is in connection with the conversation, and sometimes it's not. We've had juggling, we've had teaspoon playing, we've had all sorts on the show. So, Charlotte, over to you, my love.
I'm going to come over to Geej first, and I want to ask you what your challenge is this year.
Oh,
Ooh, okay. So I did set a New Year's resolution this year to take more photos, because the last 2 years I haven't been doing that. And then I looked back and I was like, oh, whereas before I used to take loads of photos. So I'm back on a mission now. That's my little challenge. But yeah, I'm going to keep it with that one. I could go on and on. I've got a list of like 22, so I won't bore you.
I've been the same though during lockdown, because we haven't been out that much, so we don't take as many photos, do we? So, what about yourself, Eleanor? Have you got a challenge this year?
You know what? I don't really have one. I don't really do New Year's resolutions, and yeah, it's not kind of my thing really. I just feel like I'm a bit of a rebel, because I just think, why do I need to set myself a challenge on the 1st of January just because it's the 1st of January?
there one.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Do you have
float
any
my boat.
other challenges, or are you just a rebel without a cause?
I'm a rebel without a cause at the moment. Apart from what, I got lots of business goals and challenges, but as for personal one, not so much. No.
It's okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What about you, Jeff? What's your challenge this year?
My main challenge is to move into digital products instead of the one-to-one intensives business-wise, and that's massive for me, being a technophobe. But that's why I've had to bring someone on board to help me. And personal-wise is to get healthy.
Oh,
Healthier, I guess.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, I know someone that may be able to help you with that challenge. Ewan.
Ewan, what's your challenge this year?
Oh, yeah, you had to ask that. It's as I said, a goal is important not to achieve it, but to see who you need to become in order to achieve that goal. And I actually have two goals: a short term, which is fixed already and almost plan everything, and a longer one, which I have literally no idea how I'm going to achieve, but it's there to be aware whom I have to become to achieve that goal. Is currently I cannot really assess it, to be honest. First goal is run a marathon in November 6th in Porto. Is everything set? And the second one is complete an Ironman competition. It's and I cannot really assess it. I know it's 226 kilometers in 17 hours max. But for me, is that like an Ironman or walking to Scotland and back? It's the same assessment in my mind. I cannot picture it. I have no idea how I'm going to do that, but hopefully I'm going to do it someday. So who I need to become to be able to put my body through such a craziness, that's more important to me. And through that,
Genuinely have a chat with Jeff. Right, I'm being like quite genuine here. Right, have a conversation with Jeff because
Yeah.
you've got some mindset stuff going on there, Jeff. You want to get it? I'm it's like a marriage made in heaven. It really is. I love these guys. Right. Whilst
When you're all done, you can come and have a dance.
Here. What's that?
I'll certainly
When
have a
you're all
dance.
done, you can come and have a dance.
Yes. We can all go strutt our stuff. Well, listen, guys, we do have to end the show, right? And it has been an absolute pleasure having you all on the show. I do genuinely consider you all friends, and I love you all so much. It's so nice to be in a space with you. So from everybody on the show, we're massive thank you to all the comments, and there's been loads of them. So thank you so much for the comments, and they're still coming in. So thank you for that. We will be right back here in 10 minutes with the Business for Entrepreneurs, where we are joined with the lovely Samantha Thomas, all from Embrace Your Life. So if you want to know a bit more about challenges, tune into that. And then we'll be back here again then tomorrow for Meet the Member and going on for the rest of the week. So stay tuned to the Sina Bounds SMB TV, and we will see you all very, very soon. Thank you so much, and good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.